Hello and welcome back to Excelsior Academy. So I welcome back to our structure biology series. So guys, I hope you're watching and getting updated on like how and what all topics we are taking in this series. So in the previous lecture, we discussed one of the most important principles of in the structure biology, that the structure of a biological molecules is going to determine its function. Okay. Now how this structure is that important that even a small structural change will it affect its function? Okay. Now, can we just change one amino acid in a protein? Will it entirely affect in the human body? Like, can you make one single amino acid change and the person can die? Like, can it be that lethal? So the answer is yes. Okay. So there are like four examples which I'll be taking in detail to understand this concept. So one of the first example what I'll be taking is the hemoglobin and the sickle cell disease. So in today's lecture, we'll understand the normal structure of and the function of the hemoglobin. We'll understand the cooperative binding of the oxygen and the structural transition from the T state of the hemoglobin to the R state of the hemoglobin. And finally, how one single amino acid substitution in the beta globin chain of your hemoglobin is going to produce a sickle hemoglobin, and ultimately it is going to cause the disease. Okay. Now, let's move on to the example. So this we have discussed in the previous, like how a structure of a 3D structure of a protein or any bio macromolecule is important, and how even a small structural change can affect it by the mutation, and it can also lead to the disease. Okay, so let's come to the example over here of the hemoglobin. So we all know hemoglobin helps in the oxygen transport. Okay, now it is present inside the RBC, like very basic, everyone knows this, right? Now, what is the major function of the hemoglobin? That it is going to transfer oxygen from the lungs to the different parts of the body, right? Where the oxygen, like we inhale, we get the oxygen, and there the RBCs which are present is going to take the oxygen from there and going to transport to the rest of the bodies. Clear? Okay, guys, if I go very fast in my video lectures and all, just let me know through your comments, like if it is very fast and not able to catch up. Okay, now when the blood reaches the lungs, as I mentioned, the oxygen becomes very high, okay, and the oxygen will bind to the hemoglobin. Now, these RBCs from the lungs, it will move and circulate throughout the body, distributing the oxygen. And as we know, oxygen is required for our respiration. Okay. Now, in simple terms, if I want to say, hemoglobin is going to load oxygen in the lungs and it unloads the oxygen in the different parts of the body. Okay, now let's understand its structure. So as you can see it over here, hemoglobin is actually, hemoglobin is actually a tetramer. Okay, you can see that there are two alpha and beta is there, right? So here you can see alpha and beta, two groups are there. Now, if you see, guys, can you tell me like whether it is only alpha helical or beta sheets are also present? If you look at the structures over here, can you guess it? Like what is it? Yeah. So it has got two alpha globin chains and two beta globin chains. But if you see the entire structure, it is made up of alpha helices. Okay. Now we just give them the alpha and beta, the nomenclature. Okay. So now if I want to write hemoglobin structure, I'll be writing as alpha 2 and beta 2, the structure of the hemoglobin. Okay. So it has got the four individual subunits over here. So it's actually a quaternary structure. Okay. Now, let's talk about the heme group. So if you see, if I take only one single, let me just change my color. If you see, if I consider only this, you can see that there is a center, right, where the heme group is present. Okay. Now this heme group contains iron. Okay. Your Fe is present over there. Now this is essential for the oxygen binding. So this particular iron center is going to bind to your oxygen. Okay, so it means what? There are four subunits. So four oxygen molecules will be transported with the help of the one hemoglobin molecule. Okay, so one heme, one oxygen, one hemoglobin, four oxygen. Okay, I hope this much is clear, the function, right? Now let's talk about the structural significance over here. Okay, so as you can see over here, let me just rub all this. Okay, now if you see the structure, okay, the structural significance of the hemoglobin. So let's talk about the loading and unloading of oxygen. Okay. Now over here, excuse me. If you see, cooperative binding allows efficient oxygen loading and unloading. So in this state, the T state is the deoxyhemoglobin. It means what? There is no oxygen bound. Okay. Now what happens is that once you get the oxygen, it goes to the R state. The tense state and the R state. R is for your relaxed state. Okay. Now, what you can see, the moment one oxygen binds, it helps the other subunits also to gain the affinity towards the oxygen. And from one, it goes to your four. Okay. So what happens over here then? One hemoglobin molecule is now actually having the four oxygen molecules. Okay. Now, this is the cooperative binding. Like, what does it mean? It means that binding of one oxygen molecule is going to influence the binding of the other additional molecules. So, the moment one globin molecule binds with the one, the other three will also very fast binding of the oxygen will happen. Okay. Now, how exactly this is happening? So just imagine there are four subunits of the hemoglobin. The moment one subunit is bound with the oxygen, what happens? There is a structural changes in the protein. Okay. And that allows more oxygen to come in the vicinity and get bound with the heme center. Okay. Now, in other words, after during the oxygen unloading or the loading, what happens is the same way the release of oxygen also is going to help in the release of the other oxygen molecules. Okay. So it's like loading of the oxygen and unloading of the oxygen is happening in the similar way, which is known as the cooperativity. Okay. Now, this is very useful behavior of the hemoglobin because that helps in the efficient loading of the oxygen and unloading of the oxygen as and when required. So that's what we understand from the T state and the R state. I hope this is clear. Okay. So 10 state and the R state. Now, as you can see, let's talk about, in terms of the affinity also. Okay. Because many a times in the interview, they questions the most of the questions the panel asks is based on like how much affinity, high, low affinity the molecule is showing and how it is behaving. So those kinds of questions come. So let's understand with respect to the affinity. Okay. So I'll just clear this. Okay. Now coming back over here. Okay. Now coming to this. So as I mentioned, T is for your 10 state, R is for your relaxed state. Now, if you see the T state, as I mentioned, this is deoxy, that is minus oxygen. Here, oxygen is not there. Okay. It means what? It has got the lower affinity for oxygen. Got it? So here it is going to be the lower affinity. And it is associated with your deoxyhemoglobin. It means no oxygen is present. Now, as in when one oxygen binds, what is happening now? The R state, the structural conformational change is happening and it is improving or increasing the affinity of a hemoglobin towards the oxygen. So are you getting now? So the question can be among the T and the R state, which has got the low or high affinity for the oxygen. Okay. So these kinds of questions can come. So here we understand that the structure of an entire hemoglobin protein is directly related to its function. Okay, so those structure and the functions are interconnected, we can say directly. Now, what happens? What happens if there is a mutation? What happens? There is a mutation, and that mutation is happening, a well-known mutation is happening in the beta-globin chain. So you can see this one and this one. These are the beta-globin chain. Now, what is happening in the beta-globin chain? The glutamic acid, okay? Glutamic acid at the position 6. The 6 means at the 6th position amino acid, it is getting mutated to valine 6. Okay. Now, can you understand what is happening? Glutamic, so negatively charged it was, and then valine, which is like neutral. So, what is happening? The properties of amino acid or the polypeptide chain, the charges are getting affected. So, you can see that one of the negative charge has become to the neutral charge. Okay, so this is the one amino acid mutation happening. Now, what happens when this mutation happened? Okay, now what will happen? So, as we see from glutamate 6, it is going to become a valine. Okay, or we also write like for the easy, as I mentioned, that 6-letter coding is also important. So as and whenever we are talking about sickle cell anemia, you need to remember the mutation is E 6-V, where E is the glutamic acid, 6 is the position, it is getting converted to the valine. Okay. Now, let's move further. Now, what is happening now? As I mentioned, please remember, glutamic acid is negatively charged. It is very hydrophilic in nature, whereas valine is your nonpolar hydrophobic. Okay, it's neutral. Now, what is happening? Okay, what is happening? It is going to change the surface of your protein chemistry. As I mentioned, the negatively charge is now getting neutralized, right? So, if you replace a charged hydrophilic residue with a hydrophobic residue, what will happen? There will be an abnormal hydrophobic region now, okay, of your deoxygenated hemoglobin, which will reduce the affinity towards the oxygen. Okay, now what will happen? At this level, this hemoglobin will not be able to interact with the oxygen. It means what? This particular RBC is not able to transport oxygen. And hence, what is happening? It's leading to or causing the anemia. Okay, I hope everyone got this thing. Okay, now what will happen? Yeah, so how do we represent? If you can see over here, it's all given, it's written over here. Now, your normal RBC is going to become a sickle cell. Okay, now why the sickle cell? Because the shape is like a sickle. So that's why it's called sickle cell. And the hemoglobin, so usually we represent hemoglobin like this. Now it will be represented as hemoglobin S. Okay, where it is represented for the abnormal hemoglobin because of its shape sickle. Now what happens over here? If you see, the major problem with this is that it is deoxygenated. It is not going to carry any oxygen. Okay. Now, what happens is that deoxygenated hemoglobin, if you see over here, deoxygenated hemoglobin is going to interact abnormally. They are not going to have a proper quaternary structure, what usually a hemoglobin was having, right? So, what is happening now? It will lead to subabnormal polymerization of your hemoglobin molecules. Now, so because of this mutation, the hemoglobin surface got affected, the interactions got affected, the polymerization got affected, hence it is not able to transport the oxygen, okay, and leading to anemia. Okay, so I think this is all clear. Now, okay. So now here we understood like how the sickle cell RBC is formed, right? Now what happens is that this entire, if you can compare now, like the structure is there, mutation happened, it affected the polypeptide surface, and it affected is the polymerization, subunit formation, right? Now what happened because of the RBC shape got changed, okay? It became sickle cell. Now what happens is like as and when it is circulating throughout the body, because of its shape, it gets, what to say, deposited on the walls of the vasoendothelial cells, like on during your what to say, the vessels, blood vessels. Okay. Now, because of this, what will happen? It is going to manifest certain pain, and that is something called as the vaso-occlusive crisis. Okay, it is getting deposited and not able to pass or circulate throughout the body. Now, this is the issue. If it is not treated, then the person may face the severe anemia. So here we see how a one single amino acid mutation has created, or has affected the entire RBC shape and function and leading to a disease. Okay, so this is how we understand now that what is the issue, and certain drugs has been there in the market which is actually helping them, in order to survive and overcome the anemia. So yes, guys, I hope this was clear. This was the one of the example, and in the next lecture we'll take another example. So I'll be taking 4 examples in order to understand how structural biology is playing important role. Okay, so guys, stay tuned and keep watching all these lectures. It's going to be very interesting. I'll try to get the videos also so that you understand like how exactly a protein is moving. And of course, in the series, we'll be talking about the molecular simulations, molecular dynamics, and all those tools which we'll be using to visualize and understand. To understand all these understand these molecules, how they are actually behaving in the in vivo conditions. Okay, so guys, till then, take care. Bye bye.